folks. Welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Folks, let's go to our next conversation. We wanted to talk about a host of things as we're still seeing a lot of issues around race in this country that have affected us. One of the big stories, of course, is the black volleyball player that experienced racism at BYU. As you know, Brother Roland has been talking about this extensively, but we want to continue the conversation. We're going to be checking in with my big brother, Dr. Omakongo Debenga, to give us his take on that. Also, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the president and his response to MAGA and what he warns for the Republican Party. And then, Doc, I know you got a book coming out talking about lies about black people, brother. My big brother here is back with us once again. Dr. Omakongo, thank you so much, dear brother, for your time this afternoon. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm great, man. I'm on campus today. Just started teaching this week, first semester. Are back at American University. So I'm in my office today and the students are great and I'm talking to you. So everything is good.
I hear that. Well, I'm in my office right now, Doc. I had to get some fresh air. You feel me?
I'm jealous. Oh, man. It's nice.
Yes, sir. All right. So let's first talk about this situation we saw with this volleyball player, because our sister has been going through it, bringing it up, and it kind of opened up Pandora's box at BYU about this whole race issue. Yep. What can be said? I know, like I said, Brother Roland's been talking extensively about this. You know, as we look at this situation of this young black woman being called the N-word, being disrespected, and then hearing other stories from other players saying that they experienced the same thing, right? What does that say to us from about black college students, black athletes on white campuses? What do we make of this, Doc?
Well, first of all, when you think about Rachel and Rachel Richardson and what happened to her, it was tragic. When we spoke with her father on Monday evening on the Monday night panel of Roland Martin, where you can always catch a brother. I'm just saying.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead, plug it, bro. Plug it. We all one family here.
Myself, Dr. Julian Malvo, Monday night panel.
Right.
We get it in, man. As Representative Renita Shannon, it's an incredible night. But, her father said that, he was actually watching the game when all of this was happening, and he couldn't see any of that going on. He just saw his daughter out there with all of her poise and all of her grace, getting out there and completely crushing it in what she was doing. And he applauded her for that, and we applaud her for that. What black students need to realize, a few weeks ago, we lost a great athlete and activist and human being, Bill Russell. And people need to realize that this is not the 50s and it is not the 60s. Back then, there are things that many black players had to endure in the work that they did, and they fought it with their own version of activism. Some still got on the court and played. We understand that. But nowadays, black students need to understand that this whole country has your back. So first of all, let's be clear. BYU failed those students on every level, in every way, shape, or form. Facts. Having said that, I also feel like the Duke students let Rachel down as well as the other players, because they should have been the one led by the Duke coach who should have said, we're not going to stay in this game. We're not going to play here. We are going to take a stand against ignorance and racism and intolerance, and we are going to walk off this court if something doesn't happen. Because one of the other things that Rachel told her dad, and he told us, was that one person who got banned was not the only one. So the fact of the matter is, you had multiple people in that audience. You had parents who were there who heard this go on. You had other staff who were there who heard this going on. And from what I recall, they only brought in that security guard after someone told Rachel to watch her back. And so as black students, we need to understand, and I'm sure on Duke, they're dealing with different types of racism in some way, shape, or form. Now is the time to stand up. All of this after the fact stuff, the head coach of BYU volleyball wouldn't even meet with her. The apology that the AD gave to BYU students and the warning that he gave was ridiculous. He didn't even mention racism in it, and that was ridiculous. So I applaud the fact that Rachel did what she did. But going forward, I want Rachel and all of these other folks to know that we got your back. Back in the 60s, you're not going to see a LeBron James type athlete with social media tweeting out support like that and calling, and Kyrie Irving, all of these guys calling. We got your back. Members of government got your back. Get out there and fight. If you don't fight this stuff head on, That's how we get to these racist representatives who are part of Congress now. Challenge them as students, get them out of our spaces now, and you don't have to deal with them later. Send them back under the rocks that they came from.
Hey, Doc, here's and I appreciate you mentioning this because it kind of opens up another part of this discussion around Black students on playing for for predominantly white schools, right?
Yeah.
And yesterday we had a conversation about what David Banner said in regards to HBCU should be the only option for Black students, right? And I don't totally agree with that. But one of the things that he, came up in the course of that part of the conversation was that, you don't get to Black students, Black athletes wouldn't experience a level of racism at an HBCU that they were at a PWI. And my only thinking, and I wanted to get your take on this, is that do we run from it or do we continue to push through it? Because we wouldn't be where we are today unless our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, our ancestors just said, nah, ain't no more all white spaces. We're here now, so you're going to have to deal with that. So how talk to me about how to deal with those two different realities. Do we put our brightest, do we put our most athletic, do we put our best in those white spaces and say, look, you're going to have to blaze the trail?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to speak from personal experience. That's what I know. Look, I get it. Look, when I ran for class president in Boston Latin School, majority white school in Boston in the 90s, students wore white sheets on their heads. I mean, like, I understand the racism. I get it. But sometimes we make the mistake of acting like everything is kosher at our HBCUs. And we act like there are not intra-cultural issues. And I'm speaking from experience. I spent my freshman year of college at Morehouse College. And it was a great experience, don't get me wrong, but I also ran into a certain level of disrespect of my Congolese American culture. And I was getting that from other Black students. And when I went to the administration and was talking to them about the need for more things relating to studying current cultural things going on the continent and stuff, I was pointed to the library to read books by Cheikh Anta Diop that were written 40, 30 years ago. And don't get me wrong, I love those books. I think I had already read them by that point. And I didn't fully feel accepted at Morehouse because of my background. And some other things happened to me that I don't want to get into now, but don't get me wrong, love Morehouse, love HBCUs. And I transferred to Georgetown University. And quite honestly, I had less issues there culturally at Georgetown in my 3 years there than I did in my 1 year at Morehouse. That's not to diss Morehouse. I love Morehouse. It's not to diss HBCUs. I got 3 children. My oldest daughter is a junior right now. If you want to ask me where I want to send her today, I'm here in DC. My first thought is most likely Howard University. So this is not that HBCUs are whack, PWIs are better. None of that. I'm just saying that we can't fully always think that Black people are always going to have the best Black experience at HBCUs. And having said that, I believe on the athletic side of things, our HBCUs deserve more attention. We see what LeBron James is doing, I believe, with FAMU. We see what Michael Jordan is doing with his deal with Howard University. I'm not going to say they need to get only consideration, but they definitely, we see what Deion Sanders is doing now. They need more consideration, more respect, and more of our top talent and more of our top dollars to go towards those universities so we can start to level the playing field. And I don't know if that's a nuanced answer, but that's the answer I got.
Hey, man, that's your answer because that's your experience. So that's the answer we'll get. We'll accept that.
Yes, sir.
I understand. I understand, brother. And hey, Doc, if you were part of the conversation yesterday, bro, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. And that was some part of my sentiment that, one, I believe that if you're 18, 19 years old and you're given choices, considering money, considering cultural impact, where you are in your cultural growth and development, considering a lot of different factors, HBCUs don't always come out on top in terms of your options, right? So, but it's understandable. I get what he was saying, but then I'm like, Nah, bro. Like and here's the thing, Doc, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this. You know, when we look at the situation with Rachel and Duke and all of that, like somebody, and again, it's hard for me to say this, but
I feel
because this is a young black woman, you got young brothers who are blazing the trail to go into these spaces, but somebody's got to do it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with
You
it.
know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
if somebody has to do it. Like we can't operate. There shouldn't be an all-white space in America.
I feel you. Yeah, we have to do it, and we come from a history of trailblazers. Period. But I'm sitting here from American University. I went to Georgetown University. I studied at Harvard, Princeton. All of those places wouldn't have been possible if MIT, all of these places, if other people didn't blaze the trail. And so I don't think in 2022 Black people have all of a sudden earned the right to not be trailblazers. There are still, like you said, trails to blaze, and we got to fight for better representation. We got to, I don't know what the BYU volleyball team looks like. My daughter, 9th grade, just entered, just joined the volleyball team at her school. Maybe she'll end up at BYU one day and do volleyball there and fight it and be in activism, or maybe we'll keep fighting hard enough so by the time she gets there, it's not a problem. All I'm saying is that wherever we're going to go, we're going to experience trials and tribulations. And I also am mindful of the fact that if you don't deal with the ignorance and racism in those spaces, it's just a matter of time before they come for you in the spaces that you're in. Look at all the things we're dealing with at Howard University as relates to the bomb threats. Just last week, another one, students leaving campus. So it's not like if you go to Howard or FAMU or any, you're going to be just all by yourself in some type of bubble. They're coming for you wherever you are. So you got to fight them there. And we got to be in our Black spaces where we can organize and work together to become stronger in those larger fights we have to have. It's not either or, it's both and.
That's facts. All right, let me take a couple of comments from our online culture crew really quickly before we take our next pause. My man, Brother King Lee, good to hear from you, sir. Checking in all the way from Germany as always.
Nice.
King, you said if I was a Duke volleyball player, I would have walked off the court. That's if you had the hey King, that's if you had the testicular fortitude, sir.
And I said it, man. I think that, Rachel and others, I understand her, I respect her comment and why she decided not to, but I felt like she should have walked off the court and, and I feel like the other players would have followed suit. Again, this isn't a critique of her at all. She was poised. She was an upstander. She did her best in that situation. All love and respect and support. But going forward, these other teams and stuff, if it happens again, walk off that court. And if the players who don't, look, I believe that silence is compliance. There is no middle ground. If she walked off the court and her other teammates stayed there, there is just as much as part of the problem as those guys who are heckling her. That's where we have to be nowadays.
That's facts. Lana checked in. Lana, good to hear from you, sis. Always love to hear what you got to say. You said the coach should have walked off. The fact that they let her deal with that. Duke is BYU too. Trash. Trash. Thank you, Lana. Always appreciate you. You don't like my music. You checked in. You said we all know Rachel's name, but we don't know the names of the races. Dox these mother effers.
Hey. Folks gotta know. These guys are going to their jobs the next day and all of these other spaces. Why should they have the right to keep their jobs and be students? And like I said, she said to her dad, there was more than one. So what's happening with the rest of them?
That's a great question. When we hear these stories, unfortunately, we hear the front part. We don't hear the back end. We don't hear the part about consequences, repercussions. We don't hear the part about, the shame that those who perpetuated the violence or the violation has put on. We don't hear about those stories. And I think we definitely need to hear more about that situation. So I'm with you right there, sir. With you right there. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, speaking of racism, President Biden has a few choice words for what he called the MAGA extreme. And we're going to talk about it with Dr. Omakongo about what should we expect from the Biden administration? How does he see the Biden administration handling this far-right extremism coming from the Republican Party? Also, we're going to talk about the doc's book about telling lies about Black people. What? Somebody telling lies on us? Us? We'll have that conversation. Of course, we want you to join us as well. So stay with us. A whole lot coming at you on the next hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Big shout out to all my new online watchers. Big welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you missed the first hour, you missed a very, very powerful first hour. So we talked to Dr. Gerald Horne for the Horne Report, his segment where he talked about international and domestic affairs. As we discussed Russia, we talked a little bit about those classified documents that President Trump is still trying to find. And so much more. Also, we've been checking in with Dr. Omakongo Dibinga to give us some insights about the latest developments in that racism case where our sister Rachel, the black volleyball player at BYU, and how she experienced racism and other teammates' issues there. Now, speaking of racism, Doc, this, of course, is just a microcosm of a macrocosm that is occurring in this country where racism seems to be more and more blatant. And white people, unfortunately, have felt like they've been empowered and given the space and the permission to do whatever. And this is what we're seeing, even, of course, on the national level, looking at how the president had to come out and speak. As the president spoke in Rockville, Maryland, he spoke about how the Republican Party needs to shun MAGA. Check this out. Let me just share with you, Ariel, if we can post that quote on the screen from the president. Here's what the president had to say to the Republican parties about this whole situation around MAGA. And let me know, Ariel, when you have that quote. But one of the things that he mentioned, though, Doc, is that he's engaging. He was telling people, go to the polls in November so because you have to fight for democracy again.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to keep it 100.
Yes, sir. That's what you do.
We got to keep this 100, Doc. So the president of the United States, who is an older white male, is asking for particularly black folks, brown folks, to stand up for a form of government that has not fully benefited us.
Well, I don't
Every
know.
time you come on, you know what? This is your fault. Because every time you come on, brother, now we got to deal with all of these, like,
Yes, sir.
like we try to like mentally make shit make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like,
sir.
what?
So I'm just, I don't feel like Biden is talking to Black people.
Okay.
I think he is talking to the part of that white 70 million plus people who voted for Trump. Those guys who are, he always says, because he makes a point to talk about his issue with not Republicans, but MAGA Republicans. He distinguishes. And even in Rockville and in his speech before that, he's talking about conservative Republicans and independents. He's calling on them to come over to this side. And so That's what I feel. I don't feel like he's talking to us because I don't feel like he needs to feel like he needs to talk to us about standing up against them, because that's all we've been doing.
But that's what I'm saying. See, this is the thing. Like, my thinking is, like, Mr. President, they haven't stood up to this since Trump left office.
Yeah, I agree.
So what makes you think, and it seems like they're digging their heels more into the ground. They doubling down on, I mean, you got Republican lawmakers who wants to criticize, I remember when Trump criticized the intelligence community a couple of years ago, before he got elected, people were like, oh, that's crazy. He wants to be president. He's criticizing the intelligence community. You literally have Republicans criticizing the law enforcement intelligence community, the FBI. You're criticizing the Department of Justice. I mean, these are quote unquote not MAGA people. These are people that's.
Go ahead.
I would just say, like, they didn't identify themselves as MAGA before this time.
No,
but now it seems like y'all critical of the stuff that you say that you believe in.
Yep. No, look, those guys, and look, what's their new term? Defund the FBI and all of that type of stuff. Those guys are straight hypocrites, right? But I think we also need to be mindful of the fact that you don't see a Democrats against Biden campaign, a Democrats against Trump, Democrats for Trump campaign. You are seeing some Republicans, when you look at the Lincoln Project and the like, who have finally, in some way, shape, or form, seen the light and are going at those Republicans who are claiming to be about law enforcement but are really not, who are claiming to be about patriotism but are supporting white domestic terrorists. And so there's a fracture within the Republican Party. And I think that Biden is calling them out. And the reason I think that the reason why I'm personally, and I hear you about, the lack of accountability we've seen on many levels and a lot of the issues. I'm with you on that. This guy, Biden is not, my racial hero or anything like that. So, but, when we see good, we should, you know what I'm saying? But if we see something positive, we can recognize it. And one of the things I respect that he's doing is that he is finally realizing that, I got the biggest bully pulpit. And I'm going to put these guys on the defensive, because what he's doing right now is these guys have been running around talking all their trash, doing all their stuff, and trying to bully the Democratic Party. And he's basically acting like the guy who punches the bully in the nose. And when the bully gets punched in the nose, they don't know what to do. They're all flustered. So now they're all mad. He said semi-fascist. He said this. He said that. Now they have to respond to him, as opposed to Democrats in the past. And I'm talking about like this year and up to this year in the past. And these culture wars, when they come up, all Democrats would do is say, well, we're building roads, we're working on schools, we're working on healthcare. But now what happened with abortion and what's happening with all these MAGA cats, now they are fully engaging, or not say fully, but engaging more in the culture wars. And the Republicans who are pro-MAGA and, want to kill abortion and all of that, they don't know what to do with themselves, and they're fractured. And I think that politically, it's a great strategy on Biden's part.
Okay, I can agree with you on that. I can agree with you on that. My I guess my next question is, what's the likelihood that they will follow his guidance? Now, even though I shared this in the last segment with Dr. Gerald Horn, when I'm reading that now Republicans are at a crossroads because they're seeing that the legal woes of Donald Trump continue to mount, and they're like, this guy here. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, we've been riding with you through some storms, but now you in with these documents and all of this other stuff. They believe that this will be a real liability for any type of significant win in the November midterm. So, if you're in the leadership of the Republican Party, how should you move? Because now you've embraced Trumpism, you've embraced Trump, you've allowed some of your top advocates of the party to be in that space. But now that you're seeing all of this shit show happening, now you got to ask yourself, like, okay, how do we distance ourselves without isolating or alienating anybody else, or possibly putting our lives back in jeopardy because his supporters are going to be angry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What you're seeing is a lot of Republicans now, they're kind of taking the Ron DeSantis approach, where, Ron DeSantis in Florida is basically taking on all of Trump's policies without the legal issues. And so you never hear him, even though he talked a little bit about the FBI search and how that was all of this and all of that. Outside of that, he doesn't mention Trump. He doesn't speak about him. He doesn't, tweet out about him or anything like that. And many other Republicans are starting to do that. You also see the guy in Arizona who's trying to unseat Mark Kelly. He's been very anti-abortion, but what he's been doing now is he's been trying to scrape all of his anti-abortion policies that off of his website because people are calling him out on it, and he's seeing how Republicans are losing in all of these other special elections. The only choice that Republicans have who have been pro-Trump all of this time between now and November is to not mention his name. Other than that, they are too tied because they know if they speak out against him, his base is going to come for him. They also realize that his base is not growing, but it's just enough to be influential politically. So the most that they can do is try to do less interviews, unless it's on like Fox, do less tweeting about social media on social media type of platforms, and just try to be as quiet as possible until they get to November. That's all they got right now, because it's only going to get worse for Trump between now and then. And you already see it in the last week or so. You've seen some of these guys come out, and they're not as vocal as they were for Trump as they were just 2 weeks ago when the search happened. They're already dialing it back a little bit because they're like, whoa, you got documents next to your passport, confidential stuff, and no one can answer the question. Not only what was he going to do with them, but what did you already do with them? And so that answer is going to come out in some way, shape, or form as well. And some of these guys are going to realize, they're just going to throw their jazz hands like all day. I can't mess with this dude anymore. So they're just going to be quiet, man. That's all they can do. Talk about the policies, but not the man.
Hey, Doc, especially consider the fact that now, there was that piece in the investigation when they said that they found those documents laying on the floors and all open out, looking like somebody had gone through them before the agents came.
They mixed in with menus from the restaurant.
Right, like they probably like, whoa, hold up. Now I just came across the wire. Trump said that FBI agents put them out there. They framed him by throwing the document. Man, what the hell are you talking about, bro? So to your point, I think that is true. It's interesting that. It's going to be interesting to see how people come out, because as much as there's that culture war, the very, very real fact is that Republicans are making life worse for a lot of people in this country. That's just right. From the Roe v. Wade decision, right? Push back on the student loan situation.
Yep.
So, you have big policy items that the Republicans are trying to create other narratives around and narratives about. But it's like, do you know that your followers as well, your supporters will also gain from this?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it reminds me of when, with former President Barack Obama, how he created the Obama, what they call the Obamacare, and then people were like, well, I don't want Obamacare. I want health insurance. And it's like,
yes, sir. I remember.
That's the same thing. You're benefiting off of the very thing that you hate.
Yep. And so when I see these guys talk about the student loan debt and doing all of this stuff to benefit students and all of that, and they condemn it and they say things like, well, what about the plumbers and what about the elderly who are trying to get medical assistance and all of that? And my response is, well, what about them in terms of what's your plan? I haven't seen a plan for you to help those guys out who are involved in trades. I haven't seen those plans to help elderly people get access to medicine. I've seen Biden's plan to help do that, which you also condemned and voted against. So the fact of the matter is these guys want to throw out other guys, the teachers, the plumbers, and all of that, and never cared about them in the first place. And have no policy to help them. So if they're complete hypocrites as it relates to that. And all you got to do when these guys say, what about these guys? Just throw out 3 words: permanent tax cuts. The wealthy got permanent tax cuts, and the rest of us got none of that. So these guys are complete hypocrites. But at the end of the day, these guys who are supporting people like Ted Cruz, but don't have Ted Cruz money and live in these impoverished areas and they're white, this is really all about the preservation of whiteness, in my opinion. And part of the preservation of whiteness is you can't let other groups get an opportunity to get ahead of you or be equal to you in any way, shape, or form. So if you look at the possibility of Black and brown people getting student loan forgiveness, even if you might get it yourself, you'll be against it because they might get ahead as well. This was part of the whole Southern strategy. You see Black and brown people getting access to healthcare, you might be against it even though you've never had it because you don't want them to get ahead. That's what Trump came in on. He literally said, this is your last chance to get out here and save the culture by voting me in 2016. And so many people will forego their own best interest in order to make sure that nobody else gets ahead, even though, just like with affirmative action, it benefited white women more than anybody, but people are still against it because they look at it as something that helped Black people more than anybody else. And that is where they get over on coming at things like student loans, Biden's infrastructure plan. Look what's going on in Kentucky right now. Yes, Jackson is a majority Black, but there are white people there as well. And we know there are other parts of Mississippi that got water issues as well. So when you let racism persist, white folks, it's just a matter of time before it comes to you as well. How much are you willing to suffer to preserve whiteness just to not let other Black and brown people get ahead? How much are you willing to suffer and die, not be able to drink the water, have good health care, go to good schools? How long are you willing to do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's take some comments from our online culture crew, and folks got some good things to say. And folks, I appreciate y'all for checking in. First and foremost, let's go to Truth is Power. You brought the question. You said the question that I keep asking people is, if we're not going to vote for Joe Biden, then who is the other choices you have? Because I'm surely not voting for any Republican.
Yep. It's like Obama said when he was
That's how I'm
running.
feeling.
It's
I
like
want to know
Obama
who they
said
go.
when Obama was running, he said, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. That's it.
He's a smart guy. That's a great way of saying it. That's a great way of saying it. But now that we're looking at it, because we've been talking about 2024, and we know that because of how time is flying now, that's just around the corner.
Yeah.
But I really am concerned in asking the question, well, who should folks kind of get prepared to see and hear from? Do you got any thoughts on that? Like if it's, and even though the president is saying, yes, he's going to run again, yes, and a lot of people saying, please don't, don't. We don't want to see a rematch. Yeah. And we don't think that you are up for the job. You 80-something years, you'll be 82. Sir, don't. Who do you see on the horizon, Doc?
Well, the person I see on the horizon immediately is definitely, Vice President Kamala Harris. She's in that role, and that's put her in a position to do that, and she'll definitely have my support.
Real quick, you brought her up. I'm gonna bring her up because somebody brought it up. Conscious Thought said, "Has anyone noticed that relative silence regarding Vice President Kamala Harris?"
That's her job. The vice president can't get in front of the president. They can't do that. They can be the attack person and get out there and do that, but they can't contradict him. But look, I'm gonna be very honest. We talk about, this is the culture, right? It's in our culture to respect our elders, right? And I don't see any Republicans talking about Trump, who's like 2 years younger than Biden, saying that he's too old. I never see Republicans talk about passing the torch. And as Joe Madison always says, it's not about passing the torch, it's about lighting the torch. And I believe that if President Biden is up to the job and has no issues, I have no problem with President Biden running again. He's had a great last few weeks. in terms of his successes. He's been able to do some of the things he talked about in terms of bipartisan support on some levels. If we get more senators in and make people like Manchin and Sinema irrelevant, we're going to get that Voting Rights Act passed and all of the other type of stuff. And look, if for some reason he does not continue, Vice President Harris is right there ready to take over. So, I mean, this whole thing about pass the torch, especially when you're doing well, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I personally think we need to get out of the ageist idea of this guy being too old to run. And at the end of the day, I think he should go for it again. I have no problems with it.
All right. So if we have no problem with it, I've been hearing the California governor, Gavin Newsom, is a possibility. He's been making some big changes here in the state of California. Yeah. And where people feel like he's progressive enough, he has the experience, he's still young, relatively young, that he can handle it. What's your take of the California governor, Doc?
Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of folks out there who, Beto O'Rourke, regardless of what happens to him in this next election, Gavin Newsom, absolutely. There is a very strong list of Democratic candidates who I feel will do a much better job than any Republican who comes into office. And, based on the policies they've implemented in the states that they're in on at the local level, at the state level, and for many of those who are part of the federal government, if Pete Buttigieg decided to run, and look, in this process, if these guys want to get out there and challenge Biden in some way, shape, or form, that's part of the process. That's their right. I think that right now the Democrats are a lot more unified than the Republicans, and I think we should continue to ride that wave. And I think that a lot of these guys are young enough to be able to keep doing their thing and come in strong in 2028. But like I said, Elizabeth Warren, I like Elizabeth Warren. I mean, there are a lot of other people out there who would be very strong. But right now, I feel like Biden got the most votes in any election in presidential history. And the only thing to critique him on since he's been in office as relates to going forward is his age. And I don't think that that's fair. And I think that, it hasn't been done before, but give him an opportunity to do it.
Well, let me just say this, that people have been talking about President Trump, but there was CNN had just put out a story earlier today saying that former President Trump may be delaying announcing his 2024. Did you see that story, Doc?
I saw it.
And so he was planning, I guess he was planning to launch this upcoming weekend or announce this weekend that he was going to run for office again. Yep. But given the fact of where he is with everything from the DOJ investigations to these statewide investigations, he's planning to delay his announcement. I'm be honest with you. I don't think he's going to announce. I think he's going to try to be behind the scenes and play kingmaker. I know that there's some potential friction between him. I've been reading about potential friction between him and DeSantis. So, I'm expecting to see like a Ron DeSantis really taking the mantle. There's been indication from both the Republican Party, Republican media and platforms that they're going to put their resources behind Ron DeSantis. So I think that's going to be their guy. So it's going to be very, very interesting to say the least about how the situation is going. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Dr. Omakongo. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Yes. Been having a fantastic conversation with my brother. I enjoy having this man on the show. So happy he is able to join us today, Dr. Omekongo Dibenga, to talk to us about a number of topics and issues that are happening nationally. And of course, I appreciate each and every one of you for checking in as part of our online culture crew to share your thoughts about these issues as well. All right, Doc, one of the final things that we wanted to discuss is your book.
Yes.
You always trying to be excellent, Doc, and this is the problem I have with you.
Hey, you know, I'm just trying to be part of the culture. That's part of the culture is excellence, right?
Lies about Black people. There it is, folks. Let's talk about this. This is a powerful piece that you're putting out about that. First and foremost, give a summary of what this book is about. What does it entail? And then most importantly, you know, what inspired you to write it?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you because this is the first time anywhere exclusive that anyone has actually seen the cover. So thank you for putting that out to the world to see. I appreciate you. Oh man, it just feels great to see.
Wait a minute, hold on. We got King Keenan, Ariel. We got to put that cover right back out there because that's the new right here, folks.
That's right. Never seen anywhere else. I appreciate
Look at that.
it.
That got to be a woman. Is that a woman?
I'm not gonna say.
That may not be a woman. Now look at it. Now you got me feeling all crazy.
And as you see at the bottom, it has the foreword by Dr. Michael Eric Dyson as well, which I'm very excited about. And you know, this book, we're calling it Lies About Black People and combating racist stereotypes, because at the end of the day, we have to understand that so much of what we are taught about Black people, and I'm also talking about Black people, but just across America in general, has been based on a lie. And if we really want to talk about being anti-racist and pro-equity, we really have to combat the lies. And when I was doing this book, I was asking people different questions about things they learned growing up about Black people. People told me different things, and I got this from people of all backgrounds. I was told that Black people can't swim. I was told that Black people are dirty. I was told that Black people are all criminals, that Black people are not academically as smart as white people. And these type of lies, we think that they're little things that we're told growing up, but we don't understand that as a society, we've based entire policy on them. These lies that Black people are not good with money, or these lies that Black people are dirty, led to policies that meant that Black people couldn't live in certain neighborhoods across the country. This idea that Black people are not academically smart led us to not being able to go to universities. This idea that Black people are not going to be as loyal to this country as soldiers led to us not being able to get the same type of benefits coming out of World War II when the GI Bill came out. Every policy that has existed in this country against Black people has been based on a lie. And so what I'm doing in this book is I'm exposing those lies, what they have looked like historically, how they manifest themselves today, and then I'm providing solutions on what readers can do of all backgrounds to challenge those lies in the spaces and places that they occupy.
So first and foremost, congratulations on putting this work out there, because I think it's important to get to the root of the culture that we all embrace, because so many of these lies have actually contributed to how we see ourselves, right?
That's right.
And we kind of embraced these lies to the point that we start to believe them.
Absolutely.
And I want to kind of get your take. Was there a particular event or a moment that made you say, you know what? we need to really start to disrupt and uproot some of these myths and these fantasies about Black people, some of these lies. Was there something like that, or was it just something that's been on your mind for a while?
The general thing that forced me to really need to do this is my students. You know, I talk to students all across the country, you know, and of course I do work in corporations and other environments as a speaker, diversity, equity, and inclusion expert as well. I do that, but when I see the young people, whether I'm going to talk to kids from kindergarten to 12th grade or students I teach on the college level every year, and I look at the amount of knowledge that they don't have, not only about history in general, but particularly Black history, I get concerned about what's going to happen when we're all gone. And then on top of that, not only do they not have the history, they have the wrong history about what's going on with our history and our culture. And so I'm writing this as a way, and it's coming out under Prometheus Books in the spring of 2023, as a way to start to get these young people more hooked on. So for example, I had a student once who was a senior who was in college, who's studying constitutional law, who didn't know about the 13th Amendment and how you could still be in prison how you could still be enslaved if you were in prison. What? How do you go through studying the Constitution and you don't really pick up on that part? That's not her fault. It's the teachers who were in front of her, right? Or where we see stories about Black inventions. I tell my kids now that I'm at the point where I've learned so much about Black inventions that now when I see things, I think first that it was invented by a Black person. But growing up, we would think that Black person was the last person to invent these things. So, and when we do those things, we completely don't understand how integral Black people have been to this culture. And like Malcolm X said, if you think of people never did anything, you're going to think they can never do anything. And so I want to expose those lies so that future generations can know of all backgrounds, especially Black people, that we have built this country. And even the low self-esteem that many of us have has been a result of the television, the media, the stuff that has been put in our heads to make us feel inferior, which has also been part of the lie. And this book is about combating those stereotypes.
Hey, Doc, and let me tell you, brother, how important this situation really is. Let me just say, because it feels like in no other part of our history are we more exposed now to lies about our contributions to this country, to lies about who we are. I mean, because you are absolutely right. Of course, we all, and I'm saying we in terms of if you're old enough, you know, you maybe not in the past 20 years, maybe in the past 25, 30 years. 30 years ago, man, you know, I grew up in the 80s.
Yep. Me too.
Man, nothing good about Black people.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
The Cosby Show.
Right, the Cosby Show. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, look, you know, that still has more weight than what we're experiencing now. The 90s, we started to see a certain level of consciousness, right?
Yes.
From Hollywood, from everything from like shows like Living Single and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then you had social issues, social demonstrations like the Million Man March and other things that were happening. But there was like a little bit of the pushback because the music and hip hop music at that time was still, you know, what they like to coin as gangster rap. It was still very popular, especially coming out from the West Coast and everything. So, I mean, just to have a conversation, a book about lies.
Yeah. Yep.
Because, brother, I'm seeing it every day, Doc. And, you know, when you got to constantly uproot, constantly push back on the lies, as you're talking to your children, constantly push back on the lies as you're talking to your teachers, it becomes a real problem. It's tiring.
That's right.
It's tiring.
That's right. That's right. But the fact of the matter is we have no choice. As tired as we are, we got to keep fighting. Look what's happening across the country with the fake critical race theory activism and debate, which I also talk about in the book. In places, I saw a story, I don't know if it was in Georgia, where, you know, a teacher resigned because one of his staff members came in and took all of the pictures of Black people off the wall. We're talking about pictures, not even Nat Turner, talking about pictures of Obama and Colin Powell. You know what I'm saying? So it took those off the wall. You got places like Florida and Oklahoma where they have this, quote, Florida DeSantis, as we talked about, the anti-woke legislation where they're pulling our history away from the students in some way, every way, shape, or form. I was at a school earlier this year where a teacher told me that a parent told him, oh, when you're talking to my kids about the civil rights movement, this was a white parent, talk to my kids about Dr. King. He was the good guy. Don't talk about Malcolm X. He's the villain. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're actively fighting to remove our complete history from every aspect of society. When Trump was president, I was going to speak to places. They were like, oh, you can't, because of his diversity teaching ban, I couldn't talk about certain things anymore. Biden got rid of that, thankfully, with his executive order. They are actively fighting to remove us from the culture and the history. And if we don't actively fight back, we will be removed and erased.
That's truth right there, brother. That ain't a lie. That's a truth right there.
Every day.
Folks are checking in, Doc. They wanna share some thoughts with you. Chris V, my guy, Chris, good to hear from you. You said this sounds like white people definitely need to read this book too. What's your take on that, Doc? How do you get a book like this into the hands of the people who often are guilty for perpetuating the lies?
Oh, absolutely. And going to your man's comment, like, this book is primarily being written for white audiences, to be quite honest. And the way that I'm able to get it into people's faces, to be quite honest, is like my job 24/7. I speak, I go into corporations, I go into schools, and I go into government organizations, and I work with groups on how to have these courageous conversations. And once we get into it and put it to a space where people can feel free to express themselves in terms of the stereotypes they were taught that they didn't know about and all of these other types of issues in a way where they may not feel like they're being attacked, I find that when we can create those conversations in safe spaces, they are more prone to want to be active. And of course, we don't get everybody, but in the schools I've seen it, the curricula changes that have happened through this work, in the corporate spaces and some of the things that have happened through the work that I'm doing with them, I believe that there are more white people who are interested in having this conversation and making the change, and some who have already been engaged. Look at the Jane Elliott's and the Tim Wises of the world who have been doing this work for years as well. Yeah. I believe that there are more Tim Wise and Jane Elliott type people than there are Ron DeSantis and Trump people, but they just don't have the knowledge to be able to go forward and fight the fight. And this book is going to arm them in doing that.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I you know what? I agree with you as well. I think that there is a waking up among white people that just as much as there is among black people. Jawan Yvette, Jawan, thank you so much. Always good to hear from you. Thank you for your fellowship of me on social media. You say definitely adding this to my reading list. Sounds like you got a new reader, Doc.
Awesome.
So big shout out for her. Janae, you said thank you for telling the lies that people believe. We are so much better than what they think of us. Kudos to debunking the myths, the lies, the folk tales. We have to. We absolutely have to. Janae, good to hear from you. Mike V, my guy, you said, look, the pacemaker was designed by black men. Facts.
Bring it.
You know, there used to be the book, what was the great book, The 101 Things?
I lose the name, but I know what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah, the book that Malcolm X often carried with him when he was among us. You know, the major contributions of black inventors and black scientists and how they have made life so much better for all of us in this country and around the world. So we do have to kind of, feed on that. Ryan, Mike V, good point. Ryan checking in. Ryan Lumley, you said, I just learned this week the ice cream scooper was invented by a black man, so I feel you.
That's
Something that simple.
That's right.
Something that simple as the ice cream scooper. Look how our lives have been improved.
Yep.
And I'm not making fun of him. I'm saying this seriously. Like,
that's right. That's real. Yep.
Like the fork or the knife and the spoon, the ice cream scooper.
I mean, the golf tee, that's us. The traffic light, the gas mask, the technology that was laid for the cell phone. And the list goes on and on and on. And this is the stuff that people don't want us to teach. And as knowledgeable as we are, like your colleague said on the comments, all of us who are watching and us two, you two and you and I who are talking, we're knowledgeable. We know stuff. We're reading stuff. but there's stuff every single day that we are learning that we had. And I'm not saying y'all, I'm saying we. When I listen to people like Joe Madison and Roland Martin and Karen Hunter, and they just throw out these inventors and this and that, or pop people who did things politically.
Yeah.
We didn't know because we weren't taught. And shoot, if it wasn't for 90s hip hop, Harris, one and all of these guys, we wouldn't know anything.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Shoot.
That's fact. Because a lot of us didn't get conscious until we listened to KRS-One, Rakim, Public Enemy.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like these were the sources of our consciousness for so many facts. All right, Doc. So we and I always appreciate you, Dr. Omekongo, because brother, you always bring the passion and bring so much facts and truth. So how can people get your book? I know, is it available for pre-order, or can people just get the book right now?
So it's not up for pre-order yet. The best way to find out is to follow me on my website. If you go to omekongo.com or upstanderinternational.com and sign up for our newsletter, you'll get the earliest updates there. Of course, you can follow me on social media platforms. I'm primarily on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Omekongo, just my first name. And of course, you can follow me on my YouTube channel as well, and you'll get all of the updates. We're looking at a spring 2023 hardcover release, and more is going to be coming as we work to lay it out.
Brother, I truly appreciate you. I thank you so much again for your time today. Lies About Black People, folks, it will be available very soon. Make sure you follow The Good Doctor on all social media platforms, and more importantly, continue to support the great work that he's doing. He is an author. He is a professor. He is a hip-hop artist. The brother is a speaker doing amazing work, and we're happy to have him as another voice here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Also, of course, make sure y'all check him out on Monday nights on Roland Martin Unfiltered, where they bring that fire. Y'all thought Thursdays were fire. Mondays, they kick off the week hard, boy.
Yes, sir.
So I'm really happy. Thank you so much, Doc. We truly appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on today.
Can you believe the nerve of these Republicans? They only want to block progress for our community. They talk about cutting Medicare and Social Security. They played politics with veterans' health care. They voted against the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and funding for our HBCUs, and against lowering prescription drug costs for our seniors. These Republicans keep trying hard to stand in the way, but President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Democrats won't let them. They are delivering for us. The Democratic National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We wanted to switch gears because there was a major decision that was made about college athletes and their ability to gain benefit from their likeness and their imagery. This was a decision that was made by the NCAA. Now, I wanted to also have a deeper conversation about this, because this opens the door where college athletes can make millions. Now, we already know that there was a huge discussion about, it not being fair that college athletes are playing in these Division I programs, and they are basically used as a branding purposes to help bring millions of dollars to the schools that they play for. Now with this new ruling, it opens the door for them to get individually paid. But I'm wondering, is this good? Is this good for young people to get money so quick and so fast? Is this good for the sports that these young athletes are playing? How does this affect Black athletes? How does this affect the future of sports? A lot of questions are still looming over this decision. So we are going to have this conversation with Culture crew member Bakari Jones, and also we have our special guest, Scotty, who is a YouTuber and podcaster and host of Off Script TV. And we're so happy he's able to join us today for this part of the discussion. Scotty, thank you so much, brother, for checking in. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Thank you so much for being a part of the discussion here. Scotty, let me get your take on this. With this new ruling from the NCAA, and it really does put a spotlight on basically athletes having the autonomy over their own images and their likeness and getting some gain from it, benefiting from it. There has always been talk about these athletes putting their minds, their bodies, their likenesses out there, but didn't get anything from it. This is going to change. Is this a good change, or is this a change that we need to be very concerned about?
Oh, it's a great change. I mean, you know, in the time of the day of everybody's branding and everybody having their own brand with social media, Twitter, Instagram, it's a great thing, because I tell anybody who watches the show, I'm like, there is no USC without Reggie Bush. You know, there is no Alabama without Bryce Young. There is no there's no Florida without Tim Tebow. So these athletes are actually ambassadors of the school, which entice other people to come to the school. So yes, they're bringing money to you in athletics, but now your enrollment has jumped up. You know, the excitement, the ticket sales have jumped up, the merchandising has jumped up, and these kids who are bringing these people to your institution should not take a part of this. When you're making billions, you know, not just millions, you're making billions of dollars off these kids. They shouldn't get any money back for them putting their body, their health on the line, all because they got a 4-year degree. No, I'm sorry for that one.
I'm sorry for that one. All right, let me share with you a little bit more of the details of this. Here's what the griot said about this idea, about this ruling. Check this out, folks. When they said that more than a year ago, and they said the NCAA lifted longstanding restrictions on players profiting from their celebrity status, and in some cases, it turned elite players such as Stroud and Alabama quarterback Bryce Young into instant millionaires. But the financial benefits for some athletes are being weighed against the possibility that such deals will divide locker rooms, create tension within programs, produce an uneven playing field across college athletics, and overwhelm students stretched for time. Are these, and Scotty, when we're looking at all of those issues, when you're talking about, you know, if your quarterback is getting millions and you still not getting that much money, the division that possibly can happen within a locker room, how does that get reconciled?
It's, if you've been in a locker room, you know, the division comes where you get a player like, you're like, why is he getting paid? Like, that's the division. When you see a guy that you know is not good, you're like, how is he making that much money? But when you got a guy like somebody who can play, you're like, oh yeah, get all your money. Oh yeah, because you know what I'm saying, you're the reason we win it. So I think there's the level of difference. But see, what people they like to go to the tip of the iceberg. But what people really need to see is, what about the kids that go to HBCUs that have to get a summertime job to fund school? You know, now they're allowed to use their image and likeness to get a deal with a local car dealership. Now they're allowed to go with a local restaurant and get $1,500, $2,000. See, a lot of people go at the top and they're like, oh my God, these kids are making millions. Well, the school is making billions. So, I mean, that's a fraction. You know, but when you start disseminating it down and you go to different lower levels, these NIL deals are actually helping kids pay for their school, you know, maybe give money back to their family, just little things, car payments. So it's those players that really benefit to allow to go shop their likeness and get what their worth is. Do
you think it's a slippery slope though? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got college millionaires pretty much, right? Walking around on campus. I mean, if everybody knows, I mean, that you bringing in money, like in the article in the Griot, they talked about, I think it was Stroud. Stroud is driving around in like different cars every week. You know what I mean? He flashy as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for grown men, we just like, oh boy, that's this young boy ego, right? But if you're a young man on college where you don't have, you know, it opens up the door for some level of hatred. You know, you start to feel like, damn, man, like, yo, coming to class, he playing football, I'm studying my ass off, my parents ain't got, you know what I mean? I may not be football player, I might be majoring in chemistry, I might be majoring in something else. Mm-hmm. Like does it create do more harm than good culturally for Black students in particular?
Listen, man, come on, bro. Let's be real. It's the Black Star Network, right? So let's
keep it 100 with me,
right? Black people hate on other blacks for Jordans. Like, I've seen people hate for Lent. So I'm from Maryland. You get a nice North Face or a Spider jacket, Bama's hating. You know what I'm saying? So let's not act like it don't take millions for somebody to hate. It just has to have hatred in their heart because they envy what you have. So it could be that you got a good job. You could get, you know, somebody could come for you and say, yo, we want you on ESPN, Muhammad, and you and there's somebody hating on you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't making, you know, millions, but you know, you're making pretty good money. It don't take the hate on anybody. So to just keep isolated on the hatred issue, it doesn't take much. For me, it's like, you're going to have the onesies and twosies that make millions, you know what I'm saying? But think about college athletes as a whole. See, people like to isolate in small incidences, like, oh, yeah, this kid's making $1 million. There's like 2 million college athletes. You know what I'm saying? And you got 6 making $1 million. Like, come on, man. Like, what about all the other players who are getting $10,000, $20,000, $30,000? You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. If you were a chemistry major and you came up with something that was brilliant, you can monetize it. If you were a kid in college and you created a invention while you're in college, you can monetize it. Facebook started in his dorm room, made it to a multi-billion-dollar. He monetized, like, so. Just because I'm not, that's not my lane. I'm not like, you know, I'm not making gadgets or IT or apps. This is my gift. God has given me this gift to play football. Somebody sees the value in it. It makes the school money. It's making me money. So I really don't see anything.
I hear you. Bakari, I want to bring you into the discussion. What's your take on this?
One, Scotty, nice to meet you. I'm glad that you're here chiming in. Sports is not my ministry, you know, but to me, I think just statistically speaking alone, just off the stats, knowing the overwhelming majority of college athletes are not going to go pro, I think there's an opportunity for them to get some money. And to Scotty's point, it's the average player is not going to get to that $1 million, right? They're not necessarily going to hit $1 million, and maybe not while they're in undergrad. But if they could get something, right? If they can get something that offsets a summer job, if they can get something that offsets any of the financial burden associated with attending college, especially if their involvement in the team sport is not completely covering their tuition, then to me, you know, I think the pros outweigh the cons in that instance, right? And I think to the Griot's point about the locker room dynamics, you know, I feel like that, I don't know how that would really be any different in the you know, professional leagues. Like, I don't know how that would be anything different, right? It's going to be based on the agent. It's going to be based on your individual performance.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's fair.
I can understand like the way that could impact a team dynamic and camaraderie, but I think the hope would be that, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that's too capitalistic of a perspective, but I think the hope would be that if you see a team member who is performing at this level and has been incentivized as a result of performing at that level, hopefully it makes you want to, you know, perform at that same level as well.
Right. And I mean, I get that point. I definitely, and I think that you made 2 solid points, Bakari. I think one is, you know, when you're talking about this is the culture you're going to have to go to if you decide to pursue sports on a professional level, right? Once you get out of school. So you will have to deal with that. That you might be standing next to a dude that has $230 million coming to him while you get while you get 20 or 30, right?
Right.
But then I think to the other part of it is, my concern is that how do we make sure that these students, these young brothers, these young sisters in particular, that they handle themselves? Because a lot of these students don't come from money, especially when you're talking about Black players, right? They don't come from money. And does this, by them saying, okay, we're going to give college students money for playing, does this create a culture within the next generation of young Black athletes like, yo, I'm going to go to school to get to college so I can get money. Yeah. And the goal is only money, not necessarily to go to school because of academics. And I'm just throwing it out there, Scotty. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, people go to college to get money. Let's call it a buck.
Wait a minute, Scotty. People go to college to lose money.
Yeah, they're calling it an investment on themselves. You know what I'm saying? So the lawyers, the doctors, they're investing in themselves to later down the line recoup all my money back. You know what I'm saying? But I agree with Bakari. It's no different if I walked into a job place. You know what I'm saying? And me and this person are in the same position, but I find out you're making more than me. That's why, job places don't want you to talk about your salary. So people like to think about athletics outside of a professional workplace. But to me, I look at it the same thing. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't want, I think you got to I think what's going to start coming down the pipe and what's going to make everybody competitive is the Big Ten. They just signed a 7-year, $7 billion deal. But their incentivizing is that we want everybody to get paid. So if you're a scholarship athlete, you hit a minimum standard. So it could be $15,000. So if you're on scholarship, you automatically get an NIL from the Big Ten of $15K. And then based off your individual performance, then it incentivizes you even more. So, I mean, that's a play. I mean, because these conferences are making millions off these athletes, and people don't understand, okay, if I play college football for 3 years and I blow my knee out or I bust my shoulder up, and I have permanent damage, that degree is not going to give me insurance. That degree is not going to pay for my health care. So it's overall, it's the overall arcing of the whole problem.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to some of our watchers. Our online culture crew folks are checking in. Nisa, 1971. Nisa, what's happening, sis? You say, look, I can see how it could become problematic if they waste the money on frivolous things, but they deserve to be compensated for their talent. Too long, the schools have made money on the backs of Black people. Facts. I can see that. Yeah, it's keeping the egos intact. My other concern on that too, Nisa and Scotty and Bakari, is making sure, along with this change, Scotty, have you heard about any financial literacy courses that these students will be able to get? Will they be empowered on how to handle that money if they're eligible for it?
I think for the Power 5 and the high-level FBS programs, I think they're going to automatically walk into that lane of financial literacy. Because, listen, at the end of the day, you don't want that to fall back on the institution. Well, we gave this kid $2 million, and now he's on the side of a bridge. You don't want that to fall back on your institution. So you're going to do your due diligence. What happens is the limited resource institutions, and we already know what I'm talking about, the HBCU community and the lower level institutions who don't have the resources to be like, oh, we're going to give you, three financial literacy courses or send you to class and those things. So now you're dealing with kids who have a rush of money. I remember when I joined the military, they gave me a $10,000 bonus. I was like 20 years old. I thought I was balling. You know what I'm saying? So it's those type of influxes of money that you're just like, oh man, this is a lot of money. But it didn't matter. To me, it didn't matter if you went to Google and Google gave you a signing bonus of $6,000. It's gonna be 22 and 23 year olds that blow through that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So the financial literacy of it, I think, is what's going to have to be the standard put in place of NIL deals, understanding that you have to pay taxes, understanding, what tax bracket you fall into now because you make such and such amount of money and things like that, that you lose financial aid because of the money you're making. All those processes go into place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. Brother King Lee, my guy, you said, look, I think it's good because it is good for college athletes to get paid because it will help with increasing generational wealth for our Black athletes.
Come on, that's a bar.
I can see that. And that's why I brought up the financial literacy piece. Like the generational wealth, there could be great benefits in that, Bakari, that you know, if you're getting $2-3 million as a college student, as a college athlete, then you are actually speeding up the process it takes to bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But I think to Scotty's point, it's no different if you decide to go to law school or medical school, right? Those tracks or, you know, past education don't necessarily come built in with financial advisors. So, you know, I think it's an incredible opportunity, right? I think that what comes along, it's like to whom much is given, much is required, right? So hopefully the athletes that are in the positions to receive such large influxes, hopefully they, you know, have access to, I hope, the resources to be able to manage those funds. I think more so than them managing the funds, I think my concern is like what from a collegiate standpoint, right? We were just talking about folks threatening FBI agents. What's being done on a collegiate level to protect athletes, right? Because you got the name, the likeness, you know where they're going to be, where they practice, all of those things. So I think to me, the con and the sort of scary part of that is knowing, you know, just age-wise, right? You're dealing with younger population. The frontal lobe may not be fully formed just yet, right? So they're in a position to really be taken advantage of and to experience, I think, maybe some predatory offers and folks that, you know, kind of see the position that they're in. So I think the financial protection is one, and just overall, just, you know, my concern is like, do they have the infrastructure in place to just really protect their identity, you know? Right. And it's easy, like when you hear that one person is making millions, it's easy to assume that everybody's deal is like that, right? Like you see that on the side of the FedEx trucks, like we don't carry cash, right? Because you want everybody to know that just because one person is balling like that, we're not all balling like that. So, you know, what protection is going to be put in place to, you know, to bar folks from being able to solicit them or just even, you know, gain access to them on a physical level?
Absolutely. And I want to go to a comment that Davey made, but Davey flowed. I see you, bro. Davey, you said every time we talking about paying Black people, we got to talk about financial literacy. It's not necessary.
Hey, Farajii, can I throw something to you real quick? Go ahead, Scott. What's the difference between an NFL player who gets in a league and goes broke in 3 years and a college player who does 4 years and gets $2 million? What's the difference? You know, like, to me, they both need financial literacy.
That's the whole point. That's what I was going to say, bro. Like this is not just about Black people getting paid. This is about young people. Young people. And unless you come from a household with financial literacy, your understanding and relationship with money is a healthy relationship. Then why shouldn't you learn how to manage money? Because guess what? A lot of people ain't touching millions of dollars a year, man. Especially I know I ain't touched $2-3 million at 21, 19 years old. Shit, man, what are you talking about? I need some help, bro. Set some boundaries. I need some help.
Right.
It's not just about, it's just Black people. Because guess what? One of the great sciences that we have not been taught as a people as a result of our experience in the transatlantic slave trade is the science of money.
Yeah.
You know, we have lost that, right? And in this capitalistic system, man, if you are given $3 million and you blow that, like you said, Scotty, in 2 years, $3 million in 2-3 years, you get $3 million as a sophomore in college. By the time you become a senior, that shit gone. You don't think that happens? Grown men do that. They get in a league and they blow it.
And we talking about 3 times more, 10 million, 30 million. You know, it doesn't, it's the mindset.
It's a mindset. And that's all I'm saying. Like, we all can benefit from being taught how to, and I had a financial planner on yesterday. He said that a lot of money management starts with how you think. What is your relationship? Yeah. He said he has a money avoidance issue. You know, he don't like to check his bank accounts and all of that. Yeah. You got to know how your relationship with money, because you can't manage $10 the same way you manage $3 million. Like, it just doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Be like, oh, I got $3 million in the bank, so I'm gonna just no, man. Put that in a space where you can grow off of that, because you said it, Bakari. You said it. That situation of you being able to play football, it may not go beyond the college years. And wouldn't that be a hell of a thing, man? I mean, this has to be probably one of the most embarrassing situations. You get to school, you in college, you the hot player. You getting all this money, getting all this attention. Okay, you don't make it into the pros. People be like, boy, I know you still got them cars. You up there like, nah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, yo. It was nice to drive, to test drive.
Hey, hit him with that 50 Cent. He was like, what 50 Cent say? He said, dang, homie, in high school, you was the man. Like, hey, you gotta hit him with that.
You were the big dog on campus.
Yeah, you was that guy.
You know what I'm saying? You were the big guy on campus. You get off the campus, you graduate. You know how people are. They still expect you to still thrive. You be like, yo, so I know you got money, boy. You be like, yo, you going out tonight? I know we going back on the boat like you did back in a year ago. You're like, nah, bro, I'm not going on the boat tonight, man.
I gotta check it in the savings.
Matter of fact, can I keep it a buck with you, bro? I had to rent the boat. I had to sell the boat because I can't live on a boat, bro. I had to. Come on, man. We gotta have some financial literacy. All right, let's get one more piece, and let's get a couple of more responses in. A golf Twitler, you said the schools should definitely be transparent about the money they are making from sports, and they need to use that funding to better the ability they possess to give people an education. What are the and as far as you know, Scotty, what are the accountability measures that the school is going to put in place to ensure some level of accountability and transparency during this new ruling? Have you heard anything about it?
Schools can't be a part of NIL deals. So they can all they can do is on the back end say, hey, we're going to help you manage it, but they can't directly be a part of the deal. That's against the rules. So, because then you will have coaches, you know, saying, hey, I can get you this deal, and hey, I can get you that deal. And now you start flirting paying for players. See, that's the difference. A lot of people are like, oh, they're paying for, the player is getting money off their likeness. But when you start adding coaches telling players, hey, I can get you $1 million here, I can get you 500,000 here, that falls in the line of paying for players. So schools can have direct contact when it comes for NIL deals.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I'm glad that you brought that up. And Golf, thank you so much for bringing that point up. Young Seek, you've been checking in lately, Young Seek, so I appreciate this. You said to keep the team dynamic, you pay them all the same based off of profit. Let the meritocracy begin in the pros. I'm waiting on your response, Scotty.
You don't even do that. You wouldn't even want that at your regular job. If you working harder than everybody else, you're gonna be like, hey, yeah, just pay us all the same. Like, no, you're not. Like, stop thinking like that. That's not realistic. You wouldn't even, if you was mopping the floors twice as hard as everybody else, you wouldn't want to get paid the same, because then you're gonna be looking around like, man, this dude ain't even working. He getting paid just like me. This Bama not even working. He making the same. Stop it. Like, you gotta impart yourself, like put your life in it. Like, if you was at your job tomorrow and everybody got paid the same, and you a director and you manage 20 people over somebody who delivers the mail, stop it. Come on, man. What are you doing?
Now I gotta push back though. So
go ahead.
You know how I feel about cooperative economics. So there's a part, I do understand, I think, the point that they're making in terms of that, but I think with sports, it's different just because of, it's just not the same, right? I've worked in kitchens, I've had so many jobs, and I've been in environments where we are all, we're pooling tips or whatever the case may be. And you do create the dynamic that Scotty mentioned, right? When you have one person that's slacking or one person that's not necessarily carrying the same level of weight. But I think the pro to that is we all have bad days, right? So it's better that one person is insulated to have a bad day and still walk away with something, as opposed to you had a bad day and now you have absolutely nothing on this particular day, right? So, when we talk about it's nowhere near the same as like mutual aid, right? But it's that similar type of context where we're going to be able to take care of one another. I think it would be interesting to see what that looks like from a team standpoint and to see like how that would actually play out. I think that because we're in a capitalist country, though, it will stay in an experimental and an idea for people to ponder. But I don't think anybody's willing to physically, and especially in football, so violently put their bodies and their brains on the line. I don't necessarily think that everyone is willing to necessarily take that same risk, especially when you just look the risk alone of sustaining a brain injury. I'm sure, Scotty, you probably could speak to what level of risk you take in terms of getting a brain injury based on the position that you play. And just based on the position alone, you will be able to sort of suss out or not suss out, but to determine the difference in how much each person's, sort of breakdown or cut would be of what they're getting off of that collective pot. But it's interesting.
Like, I don't mind the baseline, but to only stop it there, like everybody, like I don't mind everybody getting, okay, if everybody getting 15K, that's the baseline for everybody, cool. But don't penalize somebody who's outperforming everybody to he only get 15K to now the person who's on the bench, he's still getting 15K. That doesn't make sense to me. That's what I'm saying. So I agree with you on the cooperative economics that everybody, like you said, bad day, I'm hurt, I'm injured, I'm still getting my 15K. But when I come back in the game and I outperform, let me get my worth for what I performed to.
Absolutely. Folks, we're going to have to stop the conversation right there. But Scotty, I truly appreciate you, brother, for sharing your insight and expertise on this. And we'll certainly do our due diligence to bring you back on to talk about more issues related to the sports world. But thank you so much, brother. How can folks check out your podcast and stay in tune with the work you're doing?
You can catch me on YouTube, Off Script, and you can catch me on Instagram and Twitter, offscript_TV. Yep, that's me. I appreciate y'all for that. That's what's up. Appreciate y'all.
That's the love here on the culture, Scotty. We got to show you love. Show us love. Show you love, bro. All right, there it is. Scotty, who is a YouTuber, podcaster, a sports analyst, host of Off Script. Check him out right there, folks. Continue to follow him, support him as he covers Black sports. He just did a phenomenal job covering some of the big conferences. And I was checking out his videos of the quarterback camp that you covered too, bro. So that was a good look right there. And I'm excited to see what you got lined up for this upcoming NFL season. So I'll be tuned in. But thank you so much for joining us here on The Culture today, Scotty.
No, thank you, Bakari. Thank you, Farajii.
Thank you.
No problem.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Can you believe the nerve of these Republicans? They only want to block progress for our community. They talk about cutting Medicare and Social Security. They played politics with veterans' health care. They voted against the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and funding for our HBCUs, and against lowering prescription drug costs for our seniors. These Republicans keep trying hard to stand in the way, but President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Democrats won't let them. They are delivering for us. The Democratic National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We got a final few moments in today's show. Man, oh man, such a great conversation. We'll continue the conversation on social media. Make sure y'all follow me on my social media platform. If you got something you want to say, get it off your chest, you can certainly follow me. I'm open to it. Hit me up on my IG at The Real Farajii, The Real Farajii. You can find me there on Twitter, Farajii, Farajii. You can also hit me up on Facebook at Farajii Muhammad. I'm open to the conversation because I stand on what I say. Feel me? I'm not going to run from it. So I stand on what I say, but importantly, let's have these discussions so we don't have this very fantastical view of reality. We need to have these conversations, folks. We need to have these conversations because why? The future of Black people, the future of Black America depends upon it. The future. So if you want to join me in those discussions, let's have it. Again, you can see all my social media. Keenan, please put my social media up there on the lower third on that banner there, brother. And let's continue to have the conversation about this. And of course, we'll continue to have the discussions about this because this came out of David Banner's view, and I'm sure he's still getting some pushback on that. I don't agree with his view, but that's his opinion, and that's all good. But we will certainly continue to have the conversation about the value, the importance of HBCUs. All right, I wanted to end the show on a different note. And I want to bring back Lise Winnie, who is the host of Millennials Anonymous, and Iman Heath, our culture crew. Lise, I know you had to jump off, but I'm so happy you're back here. Big conversation that we had about HBCUs. I don't know if you want to comment on it.
I mean, I kind of agree. I went to both. So I mean, I have a unique perspective, but I'm not gonna get into that right now because y'all already made them. They heated. So
if you went to both,
don't run from the smoke, please. Don't run from the smoke.
I'm just saying. I'm giving you the final word. I want to give you the final word. We can move on, but I'll give you the final word.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that we should Black should only go to HBCUs. I think that it depends on where you want to go and where the culture is. I think that we need to have a bigger conversation about what is Blackness. Like when Iman said she was tall, people said you need to play basketball. I was saying in the comments, like, imagine being an awkward nerd, like not really fitting in, like you like history and, science and went back. When I was in school, that wasn't the cool thing to do. That's just not what you did. So I felt like I actually didn't fit in. I tried, but I didn't fit into what the culture should. I'm not going to say which school, but I just felt like I didn't fit in. So I think that we do need to be more inclusive with education, and it's really going to depend upon how and where. And the only way we can change some of these other institutions is by being in them. So I agree with inclusivity.
Yeah,
I'm on the same page.
I definitely agree. All right, let's have another quick debate that has been sparking online. Now, I've been watching the progression of this next conversation that has stemmed from hip-hop producer, Mr. Super Producer, Mr. Dancing Your Videos himself, Diddy, who has put it out there that R&B is dead. He said this. Now, he clarified his statement about R&B. Check this out. Now, he initially said this, and we had to kind of do some editing on some of the language, so we didn't include certain things. But here's, Keenan, let's show what Diddy initially said. He said the R&B music, the R&B I made my babies to. R&B got to be judged to a certain thing. It's the feeling, though, doggy. No, it's a feeling. You got to be able to sing for R&B, and then you got to tell the truth. R&B is not a hustle. That shit is about feeling your vulnerability. He continued, you got to cry. You got to be able to get your girl back. I don't want to hear all this bullshit. It's our fault for accepting anything less for anybody getting on a mic. I feel like that there was a death of R&B singing, and I'm part of bringing that shit back. I ain't feeling no emotions. Is R&B dead?
R&B is dead. R&B is paralyzed. R&B, listen, nobody, men, and I'm going to say men, Nobody's singing in the rain no more. Ain't nobody doing this for Lord Saint no more. Nobody's at the window begging their girl to come back. Everybody is so heartless. You know, F you. I got another chick on the side anyway. I got to line up. Da, 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 da. I don't need you this. I don't need you that. No, I want you to cry. Cry about me. I need to see that you hurt and you upset. I want show emotion. It's okay to be vulnerable. It is all right. If you want to leave your girl a 2-minute voice message about how you can miss her, then throw Boys to Men on bend the knee at the end of it. Listen to me. Write that down. There goes some game for you. We want that. You don't want Tory Lanez, you know, screw you. I got the next chick, blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't want that. Cry. It's okay to cry.
Yo, you know what made me think of this least Mario song? I can feel your heart.
See, that's R&B, and it's fairly recent. I mean, first of all,
what's your take? Is R&B dead?
I'm not gonna say that it's dead. I'm gonna say it's evolved. Okay, so I think R&B has changed. I think we've gone through the phases and emotion, or maybe I should say it's devolved because we've actually gone backwards a step. But now that all the kids are into hip hop and R&B, that's what it's gonna be. That's what R&B is gonna sound like. I mean, Diddy or Love? I mean, is he going by Love? I think he Love now.
I don't know. I just call him. Let's call him Love Diddy, Diddy Love. I have no idea.
Yeah, Puffy Sean Combs. His son said that he created R&B, and I said, "Huh? What? No? Why? How?" So I think that they don't realize that
his son said that his son created it or his father created it.
His father
Diddy created. Oh. He created R&B.
His father created
which was
R&B?
Funny. Right. So I think they just don't know. So when they're creating R&B music, they gotta pull from what they have. And what they have is this new, I'ma hit you in the face. I'm like, it's not the same kind of like, oh, we not in love no more. Okay. Like it's a whole nother genre of music, but I think it's just different. That's what I'm gonna say.
All right, look, let me just tell you. Hey, look, we want to take a poll right now. We got a poll. If you go to our YouTube page right now, there's a poll that's up on there. We just asking, is R&B dead? We got people that's checking in. Let me know. We got about like 12 minutes before the end of the show. Let us know if R&B is dead. Here's what now. It's interesting because I was like, damn, we didn't really talk about this sooner, but I'm glad we didn't because two R&B titans came out to respond to this. Usher's came out. Let me just share with you what Usher had to say. Let's go to yes. Now, Usher is Mr. R&B. I think we all can agree that when Usher sings a song, he gonna sing that song, right? He gonna sing it. But Mr. R&B came out. You say he can try.
I said he be crying. He be crying.
Oh no. Yeah. Usher be the Usher in the rain singing.
He had a whole confession.
We need confession.
He all up in that jump. All right, so he said in a recent interview, he said, when I hear people say stuff like this, what happened to R&B or R&B is dead, it's not. You just don't understand the basis of it. He said, how can something come out 20 some odd years ago and all of a sudden have a resurgence in a way that people just want to talk about it, sing it, enjoy it? He said, R&B is timeless. It ain't going to go away. So when I do hear people even like Puff saying R&B is dead, he sounds nuts to me. It sounds crazy, you know, especially knowing he was a pioneer in understanding and beneficiary of it. The source that is R&B created the breath of life that was breathed into hip hop. It wouldn't be. There would be no hip hop if there were not R&B. So it's blasphemous to hear people say anything, especially hip hop cats, to say anything about R&B. Ouch!
So
let the church say amen.
Bishop Raymond, we're not saying that R&B, sir. We're not saying R&B ain't started.
Tina, give her the full screen. Give her the full screen, Tina.
We're not saying R&B didn't start this or start that. We're not saying R&B just it has had an issue with existing. That's yes, R&B is timeless because we can listen to songs from 2005. That's true. We can listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire in them. That's true. However, the feeling of R&B, the like you said, vulnerability of R&B is dead. You cannot deny that. Other than all we want to talk about having sex or going on a date, what else is there to R&B currently? Like Lee said, it devolved and it's now back, in my opinion, back to just this really either sexualized or F you, I'm moving on type of soundtrack. Like it's Summer Walker. I will say her recent album, she talked and expressed her feelings, how she felt in her position being a fourth baby mother and what she went through. Like, talk about feelings. Mary J.
Iman, we love black folks. We love pain, man. We love when singers are on the track. Pain, showing their pain. That's why Mary J. Blige is. That's why Mary J. Blige is such an icon.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like the dancery Mary, right? You know what I'm saying? We want we want that Mary.
We want I'm not gonna cry no more, Mary.
I'm not gonna cry, but I am crying, Mary.
I'm tired of you. I want it to smell like pine sol. I want it to smell like I'm pissed, I'm frying chicken, and I'm cleaning the house. It's not.
But isn't that Jasmine? Jasmine Sullivan is that. Like, she gives you all of that. She is R, and that's why R&B is, to me, is not dead. It's just different. Like, those girls and guys are out there. We just don't give them the same airplay. They exist. They're
Jasmine
there.
Sullivan.
The women got it. The women got it. I think it's the men who.
I would agree. I would agree.
It ain't. There's no more nay who's. There ain't nobody nay who's.
Hey, look. The women got it. We can name them right now, at least. Jasmine Sullivan, SZA, her, Summer Walker. Those sisters right now, they putting their pain out on that track.
The beautiful chocolate one. Ari Lennox.
Oh yeah, my sister Ari Lennox. Ari Lennox. They putting their pain out there. But see, here's the thing about the sisters. The pain is, and this is why I think a lot of guys are pushing back, because the pain is F these dudes.
Oh yeah.
No, that's not true. Jasmine recently sung a song about how she messed up with the one she really wanted to be with. Come on, we're not all saying F you, we outside, whoop, whoop, whoop. That's not the case for women. All of us are upset and popping bottles. Some of us do cry in the bathroom.
All right, folks, continue to post your votes on the YouTube page. It's R&B Dead. All right, let's go to some of what our wonderful online culture crew members are saying. Quentin, you say R&B is dead because these mumble and gangster rappers killed it. Drake. What are you talking about? Did they? I wouldn't say they killed R&B. They probably gave a couple of punches to hip hop.
Yeah.
I don't know if they killed R&B though.
But R&B, unfortunately, they birthed them. If without R&B, you don't have mumble rap.
Right.
Them.
Well, check this out. Here's the question then. All right, speaking of R&B, mumble rap, trap soul, what is that? Bryson Tiller.
You trapping and you sensitive. You sensitive while you trap. So that's
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me bring my face closer to the camera to understand what the hell you're talking about. Say it again.
So basically, you sensitive and you trap. So you slang, but you sensitive about it. Yeah.
You're a sensitive thug. That's what women like.
Women
like sensitive thugs.
Yes. Yep.
Guess what? There's no such thing.
I'm gonna be quiet on that part.
They have feelings too, you know.
They have feelings.
Thugs need okay, Iman. Thugs need a hug. Okay, all right. I'm gonna whip this dude. I'm gonna shoot this black man, but I can't express how I feel about you, girl.
Right.
You don't like my music. Hey, look, you don't like my music. You say R&B used to stand for rhythm and blues. Now it's this schmaltzy, whiny, overproduced garbage. Just my opinion. Nah, man. Like, if you're talking about schmaltzy whining, I'm thinking of Keith Sweat. Ouch. Keith Sweat. He would, man, he did some whining.
He did whine. He created the whining. Like, y'all, nobody, like, he did that.
You got Keith Sweat, Genuine. But Genuine these are like 30-year-old artists. You know, these artists from 30 years ago. Like from the 90s.
The only one that I could think of as far as the man that came to my head was Gideon. I will say
Gideon now. Yeah, oh yeah. His old Gideon got like a Paul Bunyan voice. You know what I'm saying? Just real deep.
I mean, we're missing. I will say that we don't have a Lenny Williams of our day. We don't have a man that's going to get on a record for 7, 8 minutes and cry. He cried for 8 minutes.
No, wait. First thing. Y'all women are phony. You know why y'all phony? Because you don't respect no man crying for 2 minutes. You talking about crying for 8 minutes.
That's not true.
Look, this is what y'all would say today. Man crying over for 8. Just give me one more chance. Yeah. You be like, come on, Negro. Come on, bro. Come on.
He said he cried until television went off.
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's what he said. You don't know my hurt. You don't know my hurt.
First thing.
Want to be hurt.
Hold on. You still got Chris Brown, who is always putting out a 60-song album. Chris Brown, he will take you from the club to the bedroom to the chapel, back to the bedroom, take you into the rain, back to the bedroom.
I feel like he in the bedroom majority of the time. I'm over.
Chris Brown can take you there.
You're gonna take the girl panties off. Like, okay, we get it. We understand.
Yeah, Chris Brown will take you there.
Please,
Chris Brown.
The panties is off. What's next? Like, what else? What else?
You're right. The men is struggling. You're right, Iman. I feel like the men struggling. I feel struggling.
Hey, look, hey, Lisa and Iman. So Diddy asked on a line Justin Timberlake, to name, because Justin Timberlake, no, R&B is not dead. And Diddy said, well, name me 5 artists that don't use auto-tune that's good for R&B. Justin Timberlake could not respond. And he said, boom, that's why I say R&B is dead.
We can say Mario. We can definitely say Mario.
But Mario, and look, there's no disrespect to Mario. He a Baltimore native. But when was the last song you heard of Mario? From 2016?
That's not the point, Farajii. That is not the point. The point is.
No, I'm serious. And I'm not, this is no shade. I'm just talking about his music. I'm saying like right now, if you had to name 3 male R&B singers, I would have to say right now, it's probably like Giveon, Chris Brown, and
Tank just dropped the album.
Okay.
Tank just dropped the album.
Okay. I was thinking of my man Maxwell, but you know, Maxwell comes out every 10 to 12 years.
So it's hard, but I will say that auto-tune has been used for a while. Like, so a lot of the singers that we didn't realize were using auto-tune were using it. We just couldn't hear it till T-Pain came. And then that's when R&B really started to go a little bit.
That's a variation of R&B, but that's not even like, I don't even know. I'm going to be honest with you. Brian McKnight said this. He said that that music is getting to a space of being genre-less, right? Like we can't put it in this box, and we shouldn't put it in this box anymore to have R&B artists, for example, because it's genre-less. And when I think of T-Pain, I'm thinking of like, I don't know what genre. Is he hip-hop? Is he R&B? He you know what I'm saying? It's like he talking over the track. He's rapping a little. I mean, his words sound like a rap, but then it's like
he's whining. He's whining. Like, let's just call it what it is.
I don't know if he would be a singer though. He doesn't come across to me as a singer. He came across more.
He can sing.
T-Pain, give him an Usher song to cover. Oh, T-Pain gonna sing that thing.
Yeah, he was on the Tiny Desk. Remember, he said he can sing. Like, seriously, he can sing for real. But I will say that
his own lane, though. I think T-Pain made his own, or well, introduced us to a different lane of R&B.
I agree, and I think that what the genreless music, I agree with it, because a lot of the genres were created, I think, in order to divide racially. Because when you look at the difference between R&B and pop, it's very blurry, and a lot of the times it depends on if the person is dark skinned or black. And then it's like Beyonce is pop, but you know, Rihanna, they kind of mix her. No, they say Rihanna is pop. She's still a little bit lighter, but like a Jasmine Sullivan.
Yeah, she R&B.
R&B.
Yeah, she's not pop at all.
So it just depends.
It's the sound. It's the sound. I mean, going back to what one of our culture crew members said, you know, rhythm and blues. So yeah, it could be a little jumpy, but then there's that blues side, right? Like it's like two dynamics at play. You got rhythm and you got that blues, but I mean, I think it's a slower tempo. You know what I mean? You can't. It's a different sound. Let me say something. People are tripping off of my sensitive thug. All right, Jawan, at that, you said sensitive thug, ? And laughing emojis.
That's Iman's
favorite type of guy. If y'all don't know Iman Heath, that's her favorite type of guy. She loves to hate sensitive thugs.
Wait a minute.
There you go. He wear cardigans and Timberlands. That's what she's looking for.
Wait a minute. No, that's not what I want. I want you to be mean to everybody.
Except you. That's all. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to talk about. Y'all want a dude to bust the dude in his mouth if he looks at you wrong, but then give you flowers
and rub my feet. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We got so much work to do. Rashida, you said that is the stupidest thing I ever heard. A sensitive thug will be in jail rapping his R&B song to you. Wow.
Yep.
I know what you're talking about. She's talking about R. Kelly.
Ooh. Wait a minute.
What? I said something wrong? He the king of R&B, right?
I don't know how to feel.
I don't know.
I hit y'all. Y'all like, oh, wait a minute, hold up, bro. I don't even know if I should laugh or.
I'm not sure what to do. What we doing right now?
Here is our look. Check this out. Ming Lee, Natasha Serge, you said you were responding to our other sister and loyal culture crew member, Lana Latham. You said it does seem like an agenda is being pushed because that music is causing young black boys to kill each other on a regular. Talking about hip hop and R&B, where we're seeing it right now. But R&B right now, I seem to believe, based on our little quick poll, R&B Dead, 62% of you said no, 37% say yes.
So send me your R&B playlist, please, because I'm missing something. I listen to.
We got to remember. And folks, maybe we need to quantify this at least in terms of time period. Like, what are we going to say? We can't talk about the last 30 years. That's too big of a gap.
Okay.
Too much. Yeah. So we can say the last, 10 years, the last 5 years?
I'll say 5.
Yeah, 5. I think 5 is good. Yeah.
Woo, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a real tough one.
I think we can do it. I think we can. I'm gonna make a playlist. I think we can do it. I think we can do it. A playlist with current R&B music.
You know, male and female. Because I feel like I know more. Like I feel like I know more of the sisters. Like I'm hearing more sister voices, which is powerful. But then I'm hearing a little bit less. Where I remember when Trey Songz was hot. Chris Brown again, he was still hot. Like I said, Maxwell. We talk about Tank a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I love Raheem DeVaughn. Raheem DeVaughn will give you that real R&B.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of my favorite male artists.
He said he's the king of R&B. So, I mean.
I
absolutely not. He's a participant in R&B, but not the king. He's definitely a participant.
He's in the court. He's a prince.
No, not even that. But let's go a little bit lower because
he's a knight.
we can try that. We can try that. He's the knight of R&B.
We talk about Giveon. So Giveon, he's making his way to it. But I feel like we have to do a little bit more thinking and digging for males. But for women,
yeah, don't ask me right now. I gotta do some research.
Right, you gotta do some research.
I think we can come up
with women. I think women are out there more. I think women are way out there more.
Absolutely. I think people who saying that R&B isn't dead still listen to Jodeci and Boyz II Men. We're not talking about them. Like,
no,
we're not talking about
too
them.
far
We're not
back.
talking about that. We're talking about.
Yeah. That's a good point. Good point. Yeah, Jodeci, like I don't even think of any male groups. Like, remember back in the day, there was like Mint Condition, Jodeci, 112.
Tony, by the way.
Tony. Like, there were male groups. I don't even know who the R&B groups are for the day.
We don't have any right now.
Ain't no.
I don't think we have any.
Ain't none. I think B5 was the last ones. I think they were the last.
You said who?
B5. No.
Said who?
No, it's okay. It don't even. It's all right. We going. They were under Diddy. They were a part. They were a production of him. So
I like them. I actually like them.
I did too.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I ain't talking about.
And Day 26, he had them too. What they was?
He had Day 26.
Day 26.
They were the last.
Right. But there aren't any R&B groups right now. Male R&B groups.
Not mainstream.
Genuine Tank and who's the other one?
I was trying to think of the other one too.
You talking about LSG?
Think of the name the other day.
Yeah, aren't they?
They were supposed to be in a group. Tyrese.
Keith Sweat. It was Gerald Levert, Keith Sweat, and Johnny Gill. They were
no, Farajii. Let's bring it.
I'm just letting y'all know LSG was hitting it.
They was hitting it. They were. That song was
they killed the game with that. My Body song killed the game.
Not that. We're not talking about them, Farajii.
I know that. I'm just
future a little bit more. Just a little bit.
Okay. All right.
It was Tyrese
and Tyrese. Yes.
Oh, Tyrese.
Yeah.
Tyrese should be on the list, but he wouldn't. He hasn't dropped the song lately.
He's an actor now.
I think. Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, Jamie
can sing.
Actually, singing. He said that singing was actually his first love before acting.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx, that man.
Jamie Foxx.
Can sing.
Yeah,
Jamie is awesome. I like Jamie.
Yeah, I like Jamie. You know what I'm saying? I think that we need to hear like more from him on the music side. But I think
it's coming. I think he's gonna drop an album soon. I feel like he is.
So the consensus is that R&B is not dead.
It's just different.
It's just different. It's alive, but it's just moving different.
It's like the clone of.
It got COVID-19.
You said it got COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. R&B has COVID. Yes.
You got some fun. You got some wild jokes today, Iman. You know that.
I'm not laughing. It's on the respirator. R&B needs help.
Wait a minute. So you sound like R&B is almost dead. It's almost dead.
I feel as though yes, it needs help. It needs nutrition.
Right.
It needs some sea moss. R&B needs some sea moss. There it is.
Hey, y'all, I think we're gonna end the show right now.
Okay.
When Iman start talking about how R&B needs sea moss. Come on, Iman. Come on. R&B needs some Tylenol right now. R&B look worn out. It needs to. Jesus, take the wheel of R&B, please, because right now it's been on Ambien all night.
It needs some Flintstone vitamins. That's what it needs.
Oh man. Well, we will see. We will see. People are pushing back on it. Folks are saying it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we're going to get some more R&B offerings this year from some of, I know Chris Brown dropped his new album, but it will be interesting to see what the rest of the year holds for music in terms of that space. But R&B groups, now that we talked about it, the lack of male R&B groups, is really interesting. We used to always at least have one in every
missing the matching outfits. He missing the matching outfits.
Boy bands are still hot.
Next steps.
Look, boy bands are still hot. If Boys to Men started touring today, they would be sold out in every venue.
You think so?
I agree. Even though Deep Voice is gone, I agree. I agree.
People love Boys to Men, man. We just had this love for them, man. They legitimately can sing, and they were so classy about it. You know what I mean? They weren't, you know, they weren't just like knocking boots type guys. They were just like slide in real easy. Like, nah, baby, let me hear this.
I'm admire the Ray you got on. I'm admire this tag, but it is gonna come off rather than just take it all off. Let's get to it. Like I'm done.
But they understood the science of mating.
Mm-hmm.
You got to work your way into the situation. You can't just go in there and like, yeah, shorty, I'm a lock. No. How you doing today? When they came on the track, be like, how you doing, baby? That's when you see the women side. I'm good though. I'm good.
But that's not what girls say. They want what they want.
All right, y'all. Let's end the show. You know when the dudes be like, girl, he looking at you. He gonna probably say something. The moment that a dude get a woman laughing, it's game is over. Be like, how you doing? How you doing, baby?
How you doing, baby?
I'm good. You know, can I get to know you a little bit better? You be like, oh, that's where you get that line. I mean, you've been running through my mind all day long, so I know your feet are tired.
Oh, Lord.
That's what women do. They start laughing like, that is so cheesy. So what's your name?